One of the hardest things I have when I tell people, they go, oh, what was it like coming out of Utah? I go, I loved Salt Lake. Yeah, when I tell people that Salt Lake's a cool town where there's some fun to be had, I just get stares like I'm crazy. And like, go give it a visit, man. Go to Salt Lake and check it out.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to welcome you back to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 86. My name is Chris Hollifield. Welcome to my show. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at I Am Salt Lake. That way I'll keep you guys up to date on anything and everything going on in Salt Lake City in between episodes of the show. That way you guys don't miss out on anything. A lot of really great stuff going on. We're right in the heart of summer. A lot of really fun things going on. And hopefully you guys are getting out and enjoying Salt Lake City during the summertime. My favorite time of the year in this city. So thank you for joining me. Today's episode, I sat down with stand-up comedian Andy Gold. Really great dude. I was really excited to sit down with him. He actually lives out in Brooklyn, New York now. He just recently moved out there not too long ago. I was in touch with him via Facebook. I said, hey dude, next time you are in Salt Lake City, we got to make sure to sit down and I got to get your story, got to get you on the podcast. So he took some time out and we sat down, we chatted, got to know him a little bit better, find out what got him into comedy, some of the trials that he faced, and just found out more about him as an individual. I'm going to jump into that conversation here in just a second, so stay tuned. I just want to thank everybody for your continual support, though. Thank you so much for telling your family and friends about the podcast. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world. This is the conversation that I had with Andy Gold. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and thank you for listening to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Let's just kind of start right at the beginning of like, what got you interested in doing stand-up? I mean, was it the first time you did an open mic, or, I mean, how did that start for you? Your interest in stand-up?
Well, I mean, my whole life I've been like the funny guy, always.
The class clown.
Yeah, I really was the class clown. Not so much because I wanted the attention, although I liked that. I just really liked making fun of the teacher and the person that was in charge. It was more the rush I got from, I hate talking this way, but doing kind of being the bad kid, you know, more than the goofy kid. I got a kick out of being the kid that had the balls to make fun of everything and make fun of the teacher and make fun of her stupid history lessons and her stupid diaphragming of sentences and whatever else, and just have fun with everything. That was exciting to me. So I've always been the funny person, but I never gave stand-up any thought really, ever. Even when people always said, oh, you should do stand-up, you should be a comedian. In junior high, I got like voted most likely to be on Saturday Night Live.
Really?
And everything. Yeah. So I was always the funny person, but I never thought of doing stand-up just because it's so unrealistic. You know, like what are the odds of making it in comedy?
So how old were you the first time you did an open mic?
I was almost 26.
Really?
You know, and I did it just because I thought, what the hell?
And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now then?
I'm 28.
Oh, so
about 29. So I've been doing it almost 3 years.
About 3 years.
A little more than 3 years. I started in May of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much a rookie.
Yeah.
In the stand-up world. That's not very long. But, you know, I'd gotten to a point, I didn't have a lot of options. I was working at my dad's business at the garden center. I'd gotten into some trouble, you know, I'd gotten a drug problem, and,
those are always fun to have, though, occasionally, you know?
It's the most interesting thing that's happened to me, for sure. It got to the point where it wasn't any fun at all because I wasn't a recreational drug user. I was a junkie. I was a heroin addict. Got arrested a bunch as a heroin addict I'm a recovering heroin addict now for about 6 years. Went to rehab, got out. I was clean about 5-6 months. Still just kind of depressed, unhappy, trying to figure everything out. Had felonies on my record. And I just thought, I'm going to try stand-up comedy.
Just kind of pull yourself out of that hole you were in.
Right. And, that was a big part of it, to pull myself out of that hole I was in the hopes of maybe actually finding something that I'm good at. Cause I never really had anything that I've been really good at, things that I've been okay at. And I was never a huge stand-up comedy fan. I didn't watch a lot of it.
So growing up, you weren't like pulling out the old
I don't have the typical stand-up comedy story of sitting in the basement listening to my dad's George Carlin records being all sneaky. I didn't do that. I saw the big comics like we all did, Eddie Murphy and everything like that. But I was never a stand-up comedy connoisseur or fan or anything. I was just the funny guy. And
that everybody laughed at?
That everybody laughed
the
at.
Attention and
I did like the attention. I loved being funny. It's been my favorite thing my whole life. And I just said, I'm going to try this stand-up comedy thing. Didn't know anything about it. Never had been to a comedy club. Never seen.
So you didn't even step foot into a comedy club, but you knew you were going to go do an open mic.
Yeah. It took me a couple months to work up the nuts to do it.
So did you go to open mics and watch or anything?
Never watched. Just Googled open mics, Salt Lake City. And Wise Guys was the first to come up. It's the only one I even knew of. And in May, I finally worked up the balls to go do it. Did 3 minutes.
And it probably felt like 3 years when you were up there. I mean, were you nervous? Was the anxiety, the adrenaline?
Here's what I remember. Right before.
It was a blur. Here's what
I remember it vividly.
Yeah, okay.
I remember it very well. Before I did stand-up, I actually started watching a little bit more of it on TV. And I'd gotten into Mitch Hedberg.
Okay.
Become a fan of his and some others. And I pictured myself doing stand-up. On stage, watching myself, that's what it's going to look like. So in my mind's eye, I saw what I would look like doing comedy. Okay, so I thought I was prepared. But when I got on the stage, it was my first time experiencing the point of view of the comedian. The bright lights, the mic in front of me, looking at the audience. And it hit me like that
That's what you wanted to do.
No, I was totally out of my element.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I told a joke and got a laugh, it felt the same as always getting laughs, and that only even better. And that rush came over me. And I actually had a good set, my first open mic. The next.
So the response was pretty good.
The response was pretty good by, open mic standards, especially the first time. It wasn't good for the next couple months. But when I got off stage that first time, it just felt amazing. It was a high.
A natural high.
It was a natural high. That's something that I love in my life. I love getting a high.
Who doesn't? Though,
Who doesn't?
Right? I mean, we all want to get that rush.
Right. But it was as you said, a natural high, which sounds cliche, but that's exactly what it was. And it felt amazing. And then that was in May of 2010.
And so did you just kind of keep doing it? You kept going to open mics? Or?
Yeah, I kept going to open mics. And it wasn't pretty. I struggled for a couple of months. I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do.
But did you know, at what point did you know, hey, this is something I really want to pursue? Stand-up comedy is something I'd really like to jump headfirst into.
Probably.
Because, that's pretty much what you've done. I mean, you've jumped headfirst into doing comedy.
I'd say the end of 2011. I started to get really good in the fall of 2010. I had figured out what I wanted to do. I had started just telling shorter kind of jokes instead of stories, what I did before. My act had gotten a lot more personal. Not because I wanted to show people my soul or bare myself to them or anything else. I just told jokes about being a recovering heroin addict, and they happened to be very funny. And that's why
something
I told them.
like something personal, something that you can relate to, but make a joke out of it. I think sometimes those are the best comedians.
It
that Louis C.K.-ish.
Richard Pryor, exactly, those guys. Yeah. And that wasn't my intention I didn't want to be like, I'm going to bare my soul and show them who I am. I just started trying different things, started talking about myself a little bit more and writing jokes about my life, and they worked. They happened to be funny, and I had fun telling them, and that's the direction I took it, and that's still the direction it's going.
And what was the comedy scene pretty? Did they welcome you with open arms? I mean, pretty good, or did it take a while for them to kind of?
It took a couple of months because I wasn't funny.
You weren't funny.
No, I wasn't funny, and I don't blame them. Guys that are my great friends now, Guy Seidel, Spencer King, at first just kind of gave me nods, and I don't blame them. What's to be gained by being friends with a guy who's no good? That sounds kind of cold.
True.
But it's the truth of it. Then when I started to get good, I was welcomed pretty good. Keith Stubbs started giving me guest sets really before I was ready to kind of do guest sets. But he saw, this kid's got some pretty good stuff. Let's develop him a little bit.
So you started getting to open up for some big names or at what time?
Yeah, I've opened up for plenty of celebrity comedians.
Who are some of your most memorable that you were just blown away that you even had an opportunity to open up for? Anybody in particular, or is it? I mean, probably all of them, really. Right?
Well, I guess I was never awestruck by opening for anybody.
Really?
No.
You don't get starstruck, huh?
No, I never asked to open for anybody in particular. When I text the owner, I said, I'd love to get some time this weekend. Any club would work. I just wanted a stage, a mic, and an audience. I didn't care. I mean, I've opened for Ari Spears, Aisha Tyler, Hal Sparks, the Sklar Brothers, Hannibal Buress, a bunch of successful known comedians. But it got to where I wasn't really paying attention to who I was opening for. I just wanted to go and, tell my jokes, work out my material, stage, audience, mic. That's what I needed. I never took my picture with the guy I opened for or anything like that. And I'm not knocking that at all. That just wasn't
You're
me.
just a humble person. You just want to get up, do your thing. And
I guess I never really looked at it that way. All I cared about was just getting up and doing my thing and telling my jokes. That's it. I could care less. I could care less if I was opening for a local guy or a famous guy or anything. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted to tell my jokes with an audience and get those laughs and get that feeling. That's it. And I felt like if I was less particular about who I asked to open for, my chances of getting some time would be better. So that's just how I approached it.
It'd be pretty safe to say you don't have like a dream person that you would love the opportunity to open for. I mean, there's
not really
nobody on that list.
No, there's people who I love to watch that I think are funny, but I don't.
Who are some like well-known comedians that you really look up to?
I think my two favorite comics right now are Patton Oswalt and Bill Burr.
Okay.
Those guys
just
simply
kind of get your vibe,
yeah. Those are kind of two, like Bill Burr is sort of like, the big quintessential quote club comic, and Patton the big alt comic, but they both, simply make me laugh a lot. Louis C.K., of course, I think is great, but I think Bill Burr and Patton Oswalt are my two favorites.
Yeah.
Right now. They kill me. Yeah.
What's been like the most rewarding thing for you doing stand-up comedy? Is it
having great sets?
Having great sets.
That's it.
And you said sets, not sex.
Sets. Yeah, I wouldn't get up. My most rewarding thing in comedy was having the awesome, funny, comedic sex that came with it.
I was just giving you a hard time.
Well, sex is a comedic thing anyway. If you ever watch people having sex when you're not horny, watch sex is a goofy, funny comedic thing for sure.
It is kind of funny, afterwards you're okay, and turn it off. It's done. I'm done.
Oh, I know. Yeah. You ever continued watching porn when you're done?
Yeah.
You're just like, ugh. My most rewarding experience in comedy have just been when I've done the best on stage.
Yeah.
That's the reason I still do it. That's my favorite thing about it.
Do you ever walk off a stage and be like, man, that was my worst set. I can't believe.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've bombed many a time.
And what makes you feel like you bombed though?
Not getting a good response from the audience.
Yeah. But maybe the audience was just a bad audience.
I know, but it's my job to get them though.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get anywhere if you keep blaming the audience and saying they're not smart enough, they're too stupid, they're too this or that.
Do you ever get heckled? Do you ever get like people like
sure.
saying, "Oh, you suck, get off stage"?
Oh, I've had some brutal hecklers.
Really?
Oh man! Once a couple of years ago, I was doing the arts festival here in Salt Lake. It was
the Utah Arts Festival.
Yeah, I think something like that. And it was outside. It was in a tent in the middle of the day. Okay. And, I had to keep it really clean because there's kids around. So if I do get heckled, I can't really go hard on them. And it was this black lady, I'll never forget it, who was sitting off to the right, and she was dressed in red from head to toe. And she looked like Diana Ross, only ugly and old and shot out. And she was just sitting with her legs spread out with sunglasses on the edge of her nose. And on the table in front of her was like 15 empty beer cups, just shit-housed. And I would tell a joke, and then after every joke, she yelled, "I'll rewrite the motherfucker for you." And she yelled it 20 times in about a 20-minute set. I think I made some kind of a quick, witty zinger about her appearance that everybody laughed at, but she was a drunk woman, which is the worst kind of heckler, and they're undeterred by the comedian clearly being funnier, and they just carry on yelling. And what she yelled was, "I'll rewrite the motherfucker for you," after every joke. And after a while, I just powered through and did my set.
Yeah.
That one wasn't so soul crushing though, because I thought she was drunk and it was funny and I was kind of getting a kick out of it. Probably the worst heckler I had that really got to me was in Kennewick, Washington. I think it was. I was up there doing a gig, and it was this old lady that was yelling like, "Where are the drinks?" And I said, "They're coming when I'm on stage." She's like, "Where's the comedy coming? When's the comedy coming?" And I start to just do my act in like a bad way because I'm pissed.
Yeah.
So I just start to do my act like it's a job, and it shouldn't feel that way. And she just starts yelling things at me like, "You're a queer! You suck! You're a loser!" And I don't know why, but it got to me. And when she started yelling,
just got your blood boiling.
It made me sad.
Okay.
When she started yelling, "You're a loser," I actually thought, man, maybe she's right. Here I am, 26, 27 at the time.
So even a comedian could really take something to heart, huh?
Oh,
you guys,
yeah.
You guys aren't all thick-skinned, huh?
No, I think comedians are a lot of times really thin-skinned people.
And real depressed and,
sensitive, insecure, self-conscious, which I think can be helpful because it helps you do good work when you're thin-skinned. It actually helps you to get better if you don't let it crush you. So I don't really think of myself that way, though, as thin-skinned. I'm usually pretty whatever. But for some reason, I don't know why, it really got to me and ruined my night. And I was depressed because I kept thinking, man, I am a loser.
You went back to your motel room and cried.
I went back to my motel room and put my head down and put my hands in my pocket and kicked a can.
So you've gotten to tour a little bit, or you mentioned
I wouldn't call it touring.
Yeah, you wouldn't call it touring.
No, I would say I've gone on the road and done some shitty one-nighters.
By yourself or with people?
Usually with people.
Yeah.
I've gone and done a few, headlining spots on the road. They're always with people. Let me think, except for when I did in Price, I headlined a Narcotics Anonymous, which, they usually go well because
a Narcotics Anonymous, like a meeting, like a group.
It was like a group, you know.
Yeah.
They like me because I'm one of them,
recovering
but I don't really
addict
work the 12 steps. My point of view is just like a lot more jaded and unhappy, whereas a lot of recovering junkies insist on just being hardcore optimists and happy and everything like that. And that stuff doesn't really resonate with me. I'm a happy person, but my world outlook is a lot more cynical than a lot of theirs. And sometimes they're a little like, whoa. But I kill it when I do those NA meetings because they're just happy to see, somebody that was one of them doing something,
I could imagine. I mean,
yeah.
I've met a few people that, have kind of in a similar situation. I mean, it's a tough drug to kick, man. And props to you for doing it.
Oh, heroin?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't easy.
I could imagine. I mean,
yeah.
The struggles. I mean, if you can get through that, you can probably get through anything.
Yeah. I don't know about anything, but I haven't encountered anything in my life yet that's an equal challenge or anything that's even come close.
Let's say somebody was listening that was, I mean, I obviously
right.
we're not a drug podcast here, but I mean,
right.
what would you recommend? I mean, what would you say to somebody who's listening that might be struggling with an addiction?
You got to learn to stop hating yourself so much and hating everything so much, and just learn to be happy. If you're happy and you're okay with yourself, there's no need to shoot yourself up with heroin. I wasn't slamming heroin, every 90 minutes because I felt so great about myself. So find out, what got you to use. Don't give yourself the chicken shit answer of, oh, it just feels good, because that's not it. You might think it is at the time. That's what I thought it was. It just felt good, and now I'm addicted, and now I'm a junkie. But get to why you started using, why you needed that, and focus on that. And my advice to if there is any junkies listening, the reality is it probably won't do anything. Most heroin addicts don't get clean. I'm the only one I know.
And this, I mean, you were living in Utah, obviously, while this was going on. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
yeah,
for people listening in Utah, I mean, people think, oh, we live in this safe haven. I mean, is there?
Oh, no.
There's a lot of drugs going. I mean, I know. I apologize if we're steering a different direction
here.
But
fine.
I mean, I mean, is it a pretty big problem out there? I mean, drug addictions here in Utah?
I've been out of the drug loop for, it's going to be 4 years now. And I haven't paid a lot of attention to it, but when I was, hell yeah, it was, a lot of prescription painkillers are, I know, a huge problem in Utah. At least they were. And I understand they still are. Barbiturates, things like that. Xanax are a huge problem. I know that Utah's a huge state of pill poppers and OxyContin junkies. I was doing OxyContin before I was doing heroin. Just got the heroin because it was cheaper. But with the OxyContin, I knew what I was getting. Yeah, there is a huge drug problem in Utah. You remember in the 90s, the big meth problem we had?
I've heard it. Yeah, heard about it.
It was one of the worst meth spots in the country.
It probably still is.
And I think central Utah, Carbon County and that, yeah, it still is.
Well, there's that. I still haven't even seen it. There's a documentary, Happy Valley, or something.
I haven't seen it either.
You know, talking
I've been avoiding it.
About the drug problem down in Happy Valley. You
right.
know, and I mean, it's out there. I mean, luckily, I've never had to struggle.
Right.
I mean, do you drink it all now, or do you kind of stay away from all of it?
No, I'm just totally clean.
Yeah.
When you're an opiate addict, you have an 800% bigger chance of becoming an alcoholic if you start drinking again.
Yeah, well, props to you, man.
Yeah, so I'm not really monkeying around with the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, you grew up in you mentioned like Davis County, Centerville area,
right?
Kind of in the area.
Uh-huh.
You're living in Brooklyn now.
That's right.
When did you move out to Brooklyn?
I moved to Brooklyn the end of January.
The end of January.
Uh-huh.
So you've been there a little over 6 months. Why did you decide, I'm going to get the hell out of Salt Lake and I'm going to move to Brooklyn? Was it for comedy? I mean, really, honestly.
It was for comedy. It was absolutely for comedy. The mindset was never, I'm going to get the hell out of Salt Lake because I love it here. In fact, that was the one thing.
It was a struggle. Probably.
Yeah, that was one thing. I don't want to leave Salt Lake. I don't want to leave Utah. I love it so much here. But I wanted to try something new, different, go out there for really the adventure of it.
But why Brooklyn? I mean, just
well, because
why not?
it's cheaper.
Why not LA, or why not?
Well, because you can get a lot more stage time in New York for one when you're first coming up, and that was probably the biggest reason. Also, the seediness of New York attracted me to it. There's a lot of unhappiness there and stuff.
I mean, it's a beautiful city.
It's a beautiful city, but
it really is.
You know, but it's also a toilet, and that's good for comedy. Comedy doesn't come from the beauty of it, you know, and comedy doesn't come from when things are going well or anything like that. Comedy comes from the bad stuff. At least it does for me. And there's a lot of that in New York. I felt like I could definitely get funnier in New York just because of how seedy and gross it was and everything like that.
So did you know anybody before you moved out there?
I mean, lives in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, moderately well. I don't have any great friends out there, but it's like comics I've met, but nobody that I would consider a friend. My buddy Marty Archibald moved out there before me, and I actually lived with him. So
he's from Salt Lake.
Yeah, so I had him, and he's one of my best friends. But other than that,
so that was kind of nice. I mean, because it is tough. I moved to the East Coast myself in my early 20s, you know, and I just picked up and moved, man. Just
right.
You know, at that time I was fed up with Salt Lake or the area more or less, but just to pick up and move and not know what you're going to do. There's an exciting thing, but yet it's also scary at the same time.
Yeah, it is scary. It's expensive. It's foreign. It is a different vibe, different energy.
Is it a lot more expensive to live out there than in Salt Lake?
Dude, it's ridiculous. I live in a studio apartment in Brooklyn that's $2,000 a month.
That's what you live in right now?
Yes.
Like this studio apartment that we're recording in right now, how much would this probably run you in New York?
In Manhattan, this sucker is probably, $2,800 a month, maybe $3,000 a month.
All right. You're making me feel like I'm living in a castle now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's how much this would be in Manhattan. In Brooklyn, depending on what part of Brooklyn, in downtown Brooklyn, probably $2,000 a month. In Bushwick or Bed-Stuy, $1,600-$1,700.
Do jobs pay that much better out there?
No, not really.
Because I always hear that, you know, people say.
Perhaps they do. I know there's a lot of rich people out there that have money to burn. You can get jobs, dog walkers, nannies, stuff like that, where you can make some good money. So there's a lot more money circulating out there. So perhaps that's true. But
so you mentioned stage time. I mean, are you performing every night? Are you getting up on stage?
Usually performing a couple of times a night at the shittiest open mics you can imagine. Just usually a handful of comics watching, just oftentimes in some disgusting, dilapidated lounge.
And how did you find out about that? You just kind of walking around, connecting with other comics? Or?
I did some research online. There's a website called Bad Slava that shows up all the open mics.
Okay.
You know, and the mics are shitty, but you can work out material. It's just a lot tougher. But the flip side is you get better.
So are you making any money doing stand-up yet, or is that not really your end goal right now?
I've gotten a couple of paid gigs, but it's going to be time. It's going to be time before I'm making some real money out there. The real established clubs, they're not for guys like me coming up. Places like the Comedy Cellar and that, they're for comics that have made it to go and workshop stuff. Those are places for guys like Louis C.K. and Chris Rock and Seinfeld to go and workshop their material. The major clubs. Guys like me play the shit rooms coming up. That's the reality of it. And you got to love it. And you got to be excited about playing these shit rooms and how much better you're getting doing it. Which isn't always easy because they can be soul crushing.
I could imagine.
Yeah. But
what would you say the biggest difference from Salt Lake comedy versus New York comedy? Would you say there's much difference? People, audience? I mean, how is that?
Well, the audiences are so diverse. They can change so much.
Like in Salt Lake, I'm sure you kind of, okay, I know what these people are about,
And Salt Lake, I look if the audience isn't drinking, they're usually, I assume they're LDS.
Yeah.
If they are drinking, they're usually not, or ex-LDS, which means they're going to love dick jokes.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a good dick joke?
That's what I say. I think they're great.
Yeah.
Salt Lake audiences are actually amazing.
Really?
Yes. So great. So hot. You can just destroy, in West Valley. When that room's full and it's hot, oh, yeah. And a lot of comics that are playing wise guys for the first time, they're apprehensive because they're like, oh, Utah, I don't know. And I'll just be like, hey, man, just do your material. They came to see you. Just do what you do.
So like the first time they come to like
and
a
they're
wise
usually,
guys or something.
they're often blown away by how great the crowds are here. So you get so spoiled here with great audiences. New York, if you're performing in front of just comics, they're not as receptive because they're focusing on what they're going to do.
And when you mean performing in front of just comics, I mean literally your audience is just a bunch of comics that are ready to get up. Nobody else,
or either have gotten up. Yeah. So it's tougher to get a response from them, but you can still gauge your material. When you do get up in front of an audience, when I have, it depends on what part of town it's in. If it's in Midtown, it's very touristy. If it's in the Village, it's sort of this intelligent kind of progressive, young kind of vibe you get in the Village. Parts of Brooklyn are sort of working class people, beer drinking working types, which I think are my favorite type of audience. And they've seen comedy, man. They've seen the best. They see it all the time. So they are harder to please. But when they like you, you know about it.
They come up and they tell you, hey, you did a great job.
And they let you know when you're on stage. They laugh. They can be a little tougher, but if you get them going and you got them feeling you, then they give it up.
Where would you like to see yourself go with comedy? I mean, honestly, do you want to tour?
I want to tour.
I mean, what do you want to do?
I want to play the good rooms enough to where I tour, say on the weekends, do a couple hundred shows a year in the good rooms where I'm making good money. I don't have to be rolling in it.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to be world famous or anything. I want to live a self-sustaining life doing comedy. I want to be financially independent doing comedy. And I think that's why I moved to New York. There's more opportunity to do that out there. To
get recognized.
To get recognized, to get TV creds, to get things like that. And you can make things happen here in Utah. Mm-hmm. You really can. I just kind of followed my gut and felt like I should go to New York. And there is more opportunity there. It's more within reach. And it's going to be a tougher path, but ultimately a more rewarding path.
Do you get out and enjoy the city much there in New York? Or
absolutely.
So busy working?
Oh, no, you got to, man.
Yeah.
Everything I said about it being a toilet and everything like a shithole is true. And I like that about it because it's good for comedy, but it is an amazing city.
It really is.
It is absolutely.
Did you get out there much before you moved there, or did you just kind of move there?
I went out there last summer to just check it out.
For the first time?
Yeah, to check it out. I did a set out there and just to sort of check out the city and see if it's what I really wanted. Because about 6 months prior to that, I was tinkering with the idea of moving to New York. And I thought I would go spend a week out there and just sort of check it out, the city itself, and see if I wanted to. And the energy is amazing. It's
always going, man.
It's undeniably exciting. You're not bored.
Would you say, obviously people say Salt Lake City's a safe city. I mean, is there parts of New York you go and you literally feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get mugged?
Most of it,
I'm going to get robbed.
Much of it has gone through or is going through gentrification.
Uh-huh.
So it's not nearly as dangerous as it was.
You don't walk around with a switchblade or something like that?
No. There's parts in Brooklyn in some of the neighborhoods I'm looking at that are a little seedy at night. Bushwick and Bed-Stuy.
You ever see big rats running around?
Oh, hell yes. I see rats all the time. Yeah, it's awesome.
We're running in your bedroom, you know.
Oh, no, I don't see them in my apartment. Like in the subway, though. Yeah, I see them every single day. Some monster rats, too. Yeah.
Do you just take the subway? I mean, you probably don't even have a car out there, right?
No way. Yeah, First of all, I can't afford it.
I mean, you'd have to pay, what, like $500 a month to park the thing?
Yeah, it's insane. Sometimes even more. $500 if you're lucky. Some places are $700 a month.
Yeah.
In the city in Manhattan. So the subway, I mean, the public transportation system there's fine. I can get to Manhattan from my place in 15 minutes.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all. And then, I take the train into Manhattan to the East Village, for example, and there's Eastville and then UCB East and then a couple other just lounge rooms to go do where there's mics and everything like that. So you don't need a car. On foot in the subway is totally fine.
So walking around, I mean, do you listen to like any kind of podcasts? I mean, do you listen to podcasts at all? I mean, I'm always curious,
Yeah,
because it seems like podcasts are big in the comedy scene. A lot of comedians use them for.
They are very big in the comedy scene, and a lot of comedians do love to listen to them. I'm just sometimes I just feel like such a weirdo in the comedy world because I don't watch a lot of stand-up comedy. I don't listen to a lot of comedy podcasts.
Well, what do you do? I mean, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? I mean, or is it just comedy? I'm doing stand-up.
I'm totally committed to doing stand-up.
I mean, do you have any other interests?
I love the outdoors, but I don't get to do it very much anymore.
Well, yeah, because you're not living in it.
I live in Utah. So I eat, breathe, and live stand-up comedy. I don't know if that's healthy, but that's pretty much all I think about or do.
That's great, though.
Yeah. I mean, if I get a family or something like that, it might have to change. But
you dating anybody out there, anything, or no?
No, I found I might get a rub and tug in a couple of weeks. I know that doesn't count as a date, but it'll do the job for me.
That's all you need.
I'll get what I need. I might start dating. I kind of want to start dating a little bit, just because I want a girl.
Yeah, I was just wanting, I mean, what the women are like out there versus.
They're so sexy, dude.
Versus Utah.
Oh, dude, and they dress. Oh, they don't care. Their asses hanging out with these high-waisted jeans. Well, I don't really like the high-waisted, but they go up and the bottom of their ass is showing, and it's rad. I love it. So yeah, there's just a topless woman in Union Square Park.
Just hanging out topless.
Yeah, she wasn't very hot, but it was just still cool. And nobody cared. Like there was a businessman on the same bench as her, just like reading the Wall Street Journal. Nobody cared.
You didn't stop and Instagram it or something like,
No, my phone was dead.
Your phone was?
Yeah, no. So I was going to put it on Twitter because I couldn't do it with Facebook because of the censorship laws there. How do they compare to the women in Utah though? I don't know. The girls in Utah are cool.
Yeah.
I got no complaints to the Utah.
What do people say when they find out you're from Utah? What's the first comment? First reaction? Are you Mormon?
That's a very big one. Are you Mormon? How many moms did you have? All the typical shit. Do you
just make up lies? Do you just have a little bit of fun with it?
I have a little bit of fun. If they're funny, I don't mind. I laugh. It's hard to keep laughing when it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's new to them though, Yeah, I mean, some of them think it's, like what they see on TV, like the Big Love or whatever. I never saw Big Love, but some of them think I came from that,
Do you guys still have horse carriages out there? They don't think we have paved roads.
They'll be like, do you know any polygamists? And I'll say, no, never met one.
Yeah.
They'll be like, really? I'm like, no, I don't think I've seen one. And ask me a million other questions of what we're, very freely stereotyped.
Yeah.
Which I'm not opposed to. It's fun. I'm glad there's something out there that's still, acceptable to stereotype blatantly. And people from Utah are one of them.
So what do you miss? I mean, there's got to be a few things you miss about living in Salt Lake.
Plenty of things I miss. I miss Wise Guys a lot.
Yeah.
I miss the clubs. I miss the audiences here. I miss the generous club owner, Keith Stubbs, that would just let me do sets all the time. He's generous. It's unheard of how generous he is in the comedy world to his local talent.
He seems really supportive of local comedy.
He is, more than anybody. Okay. So I got an audition for the Comic Strip Comedy Club in New York. They gave me an audition in January of 2014. They're giving me 5 minutes, unless I'm eating shit in which case they cut me short. Then they'll give me another chance in 6 to 9 to 12 months. And if I complain,
when you say cutting short, I mean, they'll literally cut.
They'll say, hey, you suck, get off. They'll give me the light. They won't actually say that.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, come on, man, I'm funny, what you doing? They'll say, oh, okay, go to hell, never come back.
Really
they don't have time for it. And they're not really being bastards. There's just there's 1,000 comics out there. So I missed that. I missed the awesome stage time here that was so accessible, and having an owner that really does give a damn. It's a huge luxury. I miss my comedy buddies out here.
Who are some, I mean, your favorite comedians here in Salt Lake?
My good friends are Guy Seidel, Jay Whitaker, Spencer King, Marty Archibald, Christian Piper. Those are my buddies.
Those are all, I mean, a lot
Cook,
of respect for them. I mean, people that we need to watch out for. And
all of the guys I just mentioned are funny guys that are worth going to see. Absolutely. Kylie Cook's a great buddy of mine. He doesn't do comedy as much as he used to because he's devoted to taking care of his boy. You know, he's more devoted to being a good person.
A good family man. Or
exactly.
Or a good dad.
But he comes around and he was and still is very, very funny. But yeah, all the guys I just mentioned are my good buddies and totally worth seeing. We have funny comedians here in Utah. Really funny comics.
So if people are listening and they haven't had a chance to go down to Wise Guys, go down there and check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Go down and check it out. There is famous people that come through all of the time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
those are
great names.
But there's great local comics.
What advice would you give to somebody, say, that's listening that wants to get into comedy?
Get on stage.
Just do it.
End of advice. That's it. If you want to do comedy and you haven't done comedy yet, get on stage and repeat. And then if you're good.
What if you just flop the first time but you still have that?
If you want it, you'll do it again.
Have you put out any like CDs or anything? Do you have any like stand-up CDs?
No.
Or self-produced CDs or DVDs?
No. I'm not ready for that yet.
There's probably some YouTube videos though of you, right?
Yeah, there's YouTube videos and things like that, but putting out an album and pumping it, I don't have enough material for that yet because my live show would be just like my album. Okay.
Is that wrong? Is that bad though?
No, I've only been doing comedy for 3 years. Is that bad? Yeah. I mean, if somebody listened to the album and then liked it and then went to go see the live show and it was mostly that, maybe 15 minutes of new stuff, I'd be like, I know what that guy does. And the other thing is, I wouldn't be able to sell CDs. Nobody knows who the hell I am.
Come on, you're Andy Gold. Come on.
Exactly. I'm Andy Gold. Yeah. A few people know me around town. I'm okay. I'm comfortable and talking about where I'm at, 3 years in. I'm realistic.
Yeah.
I'm not a famous guy that needs to be, putting out albums and selling them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm more about just getting funny than being a star.
Do you use Twitter? Do you use Twitter or Facebook much to get your comedy out there?
Love that shit.
Yeah.
That's my hobby. You were asking what my hobby is earlier.
Okay,
it's Facebook and Twitter, man.
What do you like better, Twitter or Facebook?
Twitter.
I think Twitter's great for that just because I think people are less Facebook, I think people take you a little too seriously.
They take you too seriously.
Yeah.
Twitter, it seems, for some reason, they accept jokes better on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but you don't get as many stupid, angry responses and dumb interaction as you do on Facebook.
What's the worst comment you've gotten on Facebook? I mean, anybody be like, oh come on, that isn't real, or what?
Probably people who get offended over something that's meant to be funny. There's one guy, I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah.
But I would make like these absurd. Okay, I'll give you actually one. Let me change directions to the worst one now that you mention it. I made this ridiculous post about how I need to lose weight, so I'm going to take up anorexia, and it's actually a bit I use on stage. Mm-hmm. Okay, and my mom found out and she was crushed, and she told me, Andy, my sister struggled with anorexia for years until it finally took her life. And, that's a tragedy because she was just starting to look good. That's it, which is obvious. Of course, my mom didn't really say that. Of course, my mom didn't say, oh, my sister died of anorexia and that's a tragedy because she was just starting to look good. That's obvious. That's an absurd, ridiculous.
But somebody took it seriously.
Somebody got on there. I was like, no. That first thing they said was no, caps and exclamation points. And then I could see there and I'm like, I responded to that. I go, it was only a joke. She was never starting to look good.
So people don't follow you going in knowing that you're just going to post a bunch of silly stuff.
They know and they choose to get offended. Okay. She knew it was a joke because she's not a moron. And then she sent me this big long inbox. Okay. Talking all about how her daughter was anorexic and this and that. I don't know.
She just took it a little personally.
Yeah. But I didn't apologize because it was obviously a joke, and she chose to take it personally. I believe getting offended is, people do it because they think it's the virtuous thing to do. We've all been conditioned to think that. I joke plenty and make fun of addicts, and look at me. I have a couple of jokes about AIDS. I got a friend that died of AIDS.
Well, you have to be able to laugh. You have to be able to laugh. That's life. I mean, and yeah, it is a touchy subject, but you got to laugh a little bit. Otherwise, you get depressed, and that's not any fun.
There you go. I mean, you're using common sense.
Yeah.
How dare you? That's just, of course, you just need to laugh and enjoy the things, and even laugh at stuff like that. And it bugs me when people get offended over what they know is a joke.
Is there a subject matter you won't touch?
Not really. If I can find the funny in it, I don't want to do touchy subjects just for the sake of doing touchy subjects. Uh-huh. Okay. But no, not really. Rape has gotten hacky a little bit.
That could be a thin line. That could be,
Well, and just a lot of people tell rape jokes, and there's a lot of stupid ones out there. But if there's a funny one, I'll laugh at it. But it's gotten to be kind of overdone. But no, there's nothing I won't joke about. If I feel like it's a good joke and I find the funny in it, absolutely no, I'll joke about whatever. Yeah.
Well, how can people find you online, Andy? Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I mean, anything you want to add before we close out here? I mean, I appreciate you. You came in for the Rocky Mountain Laugh. What is it that you're doing? The Rocky Mountain
Laugh Off.
The Rocky Mountain Laugh Off, which this will be up after that happens.
Okay.
I
came in for that and just had some shows this week. And you can find me online at Andy A. Gold, and then just Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Those are the only two.
And I'll put those. I put the links up with the show notes and everything like that, so people can go to the I Am Salt Lake webpage. Click right on there. That way, if you don't have a pen and paper to be writing it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, dude.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, do you have a website or anything, or not yet?
No
website. Come on, you got to get a website. AndyGold.com.
What the hell do I need a website for? I'm going to this shitty open mic in the Village. Everybody, come on out.
Yeah.
I don't need one.
Do you have a motto or piece of advice you want to leave with the listeners?
A piece of advice?
Yeah, or a motto, or just any kind of words of wisdom.
Just be in life for the entertainment, man. That's all you can do. Just be in life for the good time and the fun, and enjoy it. That sounds stupid as shit. I don't know what I'm talking about. That was a motto or a piece of advice from a whim. I don't know what that meant, what I just said. That sounds idiotic. Don't stitch that on a pillow or something.
Make a nice, crochet it.
I don't know. I don't think I do have a motto or a piece of advice to give to anybody.
We'll end it with what you said, though. I love it.
What?
Live life, whatever you said, man.
Just find the entertainment in it all, and just enjoy the ride. There's nothing.
I think people take life too seriously.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it anyway.
You're gonna die.
There's nothing you can do about it. You're gonna die. All the people on the news are dying. You can't change it. Don't cry about it. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy it. That's what I'm saying to people.
I love it. We'll leave it there. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Andy.
All right. Thank you for having me, man.
Many thanks goes out to Andy Gold for coming on the show, coming on the podcast, sharing his story. I can't urge you enough to check him out on Facebook, follow him on Twitter. I'm going to put all the links on the show notes for this episode 86. You can catch that at iamsaltlake.com/episode 86. Make sure to follow him there and tell him what you think about him on the show. Tell him your thoughts. Also, next time he's performing at a comedy club near you, make sure to check him out, whether that's here in Salt Lake City or if you happen to be in Brooklyn, New York. For my couple Brooklyn, New York listeners, check him out. Really great guy. And I was honored to have him as part of the show. So thank you very much, Andy, for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for your iTunes reviews, for your feedback. Very much appreciated. The voicemail line, 385-202-5926. Call up. Tell me what you think of the show. Tell me what you think of the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. And if you know somebody who would like to come on a future episode of the podcast, drop me an email, iamsaltlake@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your stories about Salt Lake City. So anyways, that's going to do it for another episode of the show. Make sure to check out the website, iamsaltlake.com. That way you can listen to all the previous episodes. Subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. We're also on the Mediocre Radio Network. We'll be back on Monday with another episode of the show showcasing somebody or something in Salt Lake City. You guys have a great day.